You have a decision in front of you. Maybe it's been there for weeks, maybe months. And every time you try to figure out what to do, you hit the same wall because you don't just want the right answer. You want to know it's God's answer. You're not reckless. You're not indifferent. You actually care about getting this right. And that's exactly what makes it so hard. You've prayed about it. You've journaled about it. You've asked people you trust, read verses, looked for signs, and the answer still hasn't landed with the kind of certainty you're looking for. So you wait, and the waiting turns into paralysis. And the paralysis starts to feel like you're doing something wrong, like everyone else has some direct line to God that you somehow missed. Here's what I want to tell you today. You haven't missed anything. The problem isn't that God isn't speaking. The problem is that you've been asking him for the whole map when he only ever gives the next step. This video is going to show you exactly how to find God's will, not as a destination you have to locate, but as a direction that reveals itself one move at a time. Step 1. Stop asking what is God's will for my life and start asking what is God's will for today. There's a version of seeking God's will that becomes its own form of avoidance. You tell yourself you're waiting on God, but what you're actually waiting for is a level of certainty that eliminates all risk. You want the full picture before you take the first step. And because the full picture never comes, because that's not how God works, you stay exactly where you are, calling it obedience. Here's what Proverbs 16:9 actually says. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps, not their destination, their steps. The unit of divine direction in this verse isn't a 5-year plan or a career trajectory. It's a step, one step. The Hebrew word for establishes here is kun. It means to set firmly in place, to make solid underfoot. God doesn't hand you a map. He makes the ground solid beneath the step you're about to take. And Psalm 37:23 says it almost the same way. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Not the plans, the steps. There's a profound difference between planning your course and having your steps established. One is something you control, the other is something you receive. What this means for you right now, the question you've been asking, what is God's will for my life, is too large to answer. It's not the wrong question, it's just the wrong unit. Bring it down. Ask instead, what is the right thing to do today? What does faithfulness look like in the next 24 hours, not the next 5 years, today? Because God's will isn't a destination you find, it's a path that forms under your feet as you walk it. Step 2, let your deepest desires be part of the conversation, not something you silence. You've probably been taught, directly or indirectly, that wanting things is dangerous, that your desires are suspect, that the spiritual move is to kill your preferences and wait for God to hand you instructions. So you've been silencing the part of yourself that actually wants things, treating your own longings as noise to filter out rather than data to pay attention to. But Psalm 37:4 says something that should stop you. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Most people read this backwards. They think it means delight in God and he'll fulfill your wish list. That's not what it means. The deeper reading is this. When you are genuinely oriented toward God, he places desires in your heart that are aligned with his purposes. The desires don't come from you alone. They come from the interaction between your soul and his presence. Philippians 2:13 confirms it. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. God works in you to will. He shapes the very thing you want, which means the persistent longing you've been trying to suppress, the one that keeps coming back, no matter how many times you silence, it might not be something you need to escape. It might be something you need to examine what this means for you right now. Stop treating your desires as the enemy of God's will. Not all of them. Obviously, some desires need to be challenged, but the deep ones, the persistent ones, the ones that have been there long before you started overthinking this decision, sit with them honestly. Ask God, did you put this here? Because if he's been working in you to will and to act, then part of finding his will is learning to read the desires he's already written inside you. Step 3, pay attention to what God has already been saying, not just what you're waiting to hear. Here's a pattern that almost every believer falls into at some point. You have a specific question you want God to answer, so you pray and wait and search, and while you're doing that, you stop noticing all the ways he's already been speaking. You're so focused on getting the answer to question A that you've missed the answer he's been giving to questions B, C, and D for months. In Jeremiah 29:11, a verse that gets quoted constantly in this context, God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." But almost nobody reads what comes next. Verses 12 and 13, "Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." The promise of a future is connected to the practice of seeking. And seeking isn't a one-time prayer, it's an ongoing posture. Hebrews 1:1-2 says, "In the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets at many times and in various ways, but in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, various ways." Not one channel, not one format, not one dramatic moment of clarity, various ways, which means the answer you're looking for might already have been delivered through something you passed over, a conversation that felt too ordinary, a door that closed that you grieved instead of trusted, a peace that settled in after a decision you were afraid to make. What this means for you right now, before you ask God to speak again, spend time with what he's already said. Go back through the last 3 months. Where did you feel genuine peace? Where did you feel consistent resistance? Where did something or someone land with a precision that felt like more than coincidence? God's will rarely arrives as a single thunderbolt. It builds like a pattern you start to recognize only when you stop rushing past it. Step 4, use the closed doors as direction. Not just disappointment. Nobody likes this one. But it might be the most practical step in this entire video, because closed doors are not neutral events. They are active direction. They are God establishing your steps by removing certain paths from the available options. And the problem is that you've been standing in front of a closed door long enough that it started to feel like the only door that exists. Paul experienced this directly. In Acts 16:6-7, he and his companions traveled throughout the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been kept by the Holy Spirit from preaching the word in the province of Asia. When they came to the border of Mysia, they tried to enter Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus would not allow them to, and the Spirit stopped them twice, 2 closed doors in a row, and the immediate result felt like failure. They were prevented from doing the thing they were certain they should be doing. But then, in verse 9, Paul receives a vision of a man in Macedonia asking for help. The closed doors were not obstacles, they were a corridor. Every door that shut was narrowing the path toward exactly where he needed to be. Revelation 3:7-8 names this principle directly. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. This is not poetry, this is architecture. God is actively managing every threshold in your life, which means a door that will not open, regardless of how hard you push, is not a referendum on your faith or your worthiness. It's a sign that says, not this way, keep moving. What this means for you right now. Look at the closed doors in your recent history without grief for a moment. Look at them as data. What did they rule out? What direction does the remaining open space point you toward? The thing you've been calling a dead end might be the most precise piece of divine direction you've received in months. You just haven't been reading it as direction yet. Step 5. Take the next faithful step, even without the certainty you're waiting for. This is the one that costs something, because every other step in this video can be done while standing still. This one requires you to move, and you don't have to move with perfect certainty. You just have to move with honest faith. There is a difference between knowing and trusting, and God's will is almost always revealed in the space between the two. Isaiah 30:21 gives you the mechanics of this. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Notice the sequence. The voice comes after you turn, not before. You take a direction right or left, and the guidance comes as you move. You don't get the confirmation standing still. You get it in the walking. And Romans 12:2 frames the whole project of finding God's will differently than you might expect. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. The ability to discern God's will is the result of transformation, not information. It's not that you need more data to figure out what God wants. It's that you need a renewed mind, one that's been shaped by proximity to him, and from that place, discernment becomes possible in real time. You test and approve as you go, not before you go. What this means for you right now, you don't need to be certain before you move. You need to be faithful. Take the next right thing, the thing that when you strip away the fear and the overthinking, you already know is the honest, loving, God-honoring option. Take that step. And then pay attention to what opens and what closes in response, because God's will isn't a destination you find at the end of a perfect decision-making process. It's the path that forms under your feet when you decide to walk toward Him. Closing. God's will is not a secret He's hiding from you. It's not a puzzle with pieces He's withheld. It's a path, and it reveals itself to the person who stops waiting for the whole map and starts walking with what they have. You already have more than you think. You have desires He placed inside you. You have closed doors that are pointing you somewhere. You have a pattern in recent months that's been trying to tell you something. And you have a God who promised that the one who seeks Him with a whole heart will find Him, not eventually, not after earning enough certainty, but in the seeking itself. The next video on this channel is going to take you even deeper into what it looks like to walk with God when the path isn't clear, because that's where most of the real formation happens. If that's where you are, subscribe to Faith Revealed and turn on notifications. This is not a place where faith gets performed, it's where it gets found.